Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Now it's time for us to take a look at what our national dailies are saying, and as usual, we start with the Weekend Trust. And the major story there says how APC coerces opposition politicians. You can find details on page 4. I mean, every time we just see how they are coercing politicians to join one party or the other, and now it's the ADC that is the reigning party. And you know, so it's surprising to see that they have to coerce people to actually just defect on their own and just join whatever party they want to join.
You know, one thing that's one political manipulations. You know, it's like a game of calculations and games right now, because everybody is thinking of, you know, the ADC coalition is really a threat to the
APC.
Yes, APC. Yeah. Now they are looking for ways, like I said, calculations to see how they can bring more like powerful people inside.
Already they have some APC. Powerful people.
Exactly.
But
more.
there are people that we already know, and we know what they can do. So let's just wait and see what unfolds. 2027 is going to be a hot ride, you know, definitely. But go through page 4 for more details. And then we have the reviving textile without cotton. Why? Ryder says why efforts fail. You can see the breakdown of, you know, the fall of textile companies and cotton productions, and then textile industry in the 80s, you know, where it has given employment to about 750,000 workers. And then, you know, more than 180 textile mills. Like, we have a lot of things that, you know, it's the table here is showing, as you can see. And then below the belt, you can see Kano residents take on phone thieves. I mean, I feel at this point they have to take it up upon themselves to fight back. You know, just was it on Thursday? You know, a family, a friend, should I say my cousin? Let me not just say, was stabbed because he was attacked, and his phone was, you know, phone snatchers in Abuja here, and he was stabbed. And right now he has to go for surgery. So, I mean...
This is so bad.
Yes, it is. That's what happens to a lot of people. Sometimes when you see people dead on the street, you'll be wondering what happened. They're actually being attacked, you know. So, and there were some rumors back then. I won't say it's confirmed, but there are people that were caught in a situation where, especially in Napep now, in the night when you see the driver and someone inside, people are scared to even enter because they don't know if they are together, they are working together and stuff. Yeah.
You know, this Kano State phone theft issue has been going on for a very long time. And they have graduated to killing people.
Definitely.
They actually kill people to collect their phones.
Yeah.
A phone they will not sell for more than 100,000. They
don't even know, maybe they don't even know the value, you know, and they may go and they'll just say, oh, this phone is, and they'll just give them whatever, and that's it. And a lot of times you just be wondering, you know,
take like very good action on that.
The governor of Kano State is actually trying, you know, so you'll be wondering why some of this things happen. I don't want to relate it to, is it that because definitely it's the youth that are doing this. It could be joblessness, you know, it could be drugs, due to drugs, because they need money maybe to buy drugs or whatever. You just be wondering why. Is it, if it is to eat? I mean, with 5,000, I keep saying that you can start up something. You can start selling pure water business. Do you understand? You can start, if it is for a lady, you can start selling akara in front of your house. You can do something. And you know, 10,000-20,000, you can actually start a little petty business, and you don't know how it will, you know, expand much later.
One thing that baffles me is that Kano is a very industrious state. You know, you don't see people just sitting down like that. They do, no matter how small a business is, but you know, there's this popularly this talks popularly known as Enderby. Though a lot has been done by the Kano State governor to curtail it, they're still there. They need money for drugs. You know, it's just like a court-like association, and they are doing more a very huge harm in Kano State right now. They are in charge. Like they're the one that do this phone theft, tortury. You know, many unspeakable things. You know, so it's just so disheartening.
Sad to see. But then I love the fact that, you know, the people also are trying to, you know, take up the initiative to see how they can fight back at the end. Well, you can find details on page 34, and then you can see other stories there. Says power minister's mansion celebrated at hour of darkness. Now, this is actually very funny. You know, there are so many backlashes on, you know, people. There are a lot of people saying they don't even know what the Minister of Power is doing. If there is one person that they wanted to be taken down when they were, you know, shaking up and reshuffling, the Minister of Power is one person that people were like, why is he even still there? He's not doing anything. You know, there are some words that you can't just say on air when you see how people are attacking, you know, this minister.
You know, that's true. Lots of people, I can remember the netizens especially, there was outrage. What is he still doing there?
Exactly.
Why is he not, at least they should even reshuffle him to something he can do. If they don't want him to, if they don't want to sack him as a minister, they take him to another place, like another ministry that he can do something that he can be productive there, you know. It's very embarrassing for, this headline is very embarrassing.
Well, you can find details on page 33 before Maria
you can imagine.
You can find details on page 33. Now, on a sad note, 12 killed, 5 injured in Kano trailer crash. I mean, our heart goes out to the families of the loved ones. I saw, you know, lots of posts about this. People saying a father and some children were also, I think, caught. I don't know. There are so many stories around this, but you can find details on page 20. After court order, INEC includes SDP for by-elections today, definitely. So you can find details on page 40. And then insurgency, wives of slain soldiers speak. I'm sure they are talking about maybe their husbands' pensions, their gratuities, you know, a lot of things that probably is still yet for them to receive, you know, as their husbands stood in the front line to protect the country. So you can find details on page 12 as well. And that's the much that we have for you on the Weekend Trust.
The next newspaper is The Guardian. And the first headlines there that catches attention is how global cannabis boom fuels illicit drugs use in West Africa. This is a documentary in a written form, and you can find this on page 4 of The Guardian. Terrorist tag, FG flays Canada over court designation of political parties. This is what we just talked about in the opening of this program. And if you want to read more on this, go to page 3 of The Guardian. Tinubu's policy reforms prevented economy from collapsing, says Dawn. Well, more details in page 53 of The Guardian. A time for one-sided stories. You can find this on the back page. And NDLEA Agric Ministry partner on alternatives to cannabis farming, rehabilitation of illicit drug users. Well, this is an interesting read, and you can find it on page 2. By elections, police announce movement restrictions in Kaduna, Anambra, Ogun, and Edo. You can find this on page 52. Well, we just hope that this election will be free and fair, and it will be very peaceful. Why the rise of post-delivery health complications must be tamed. Special feature. It's a special feature actually, and you can find it on page 8 and 9. Then the last headline to take in The Guardian is Road Vivo, street renaming controversy, a smokescreen to distract from governance issues. You can find this in politics, page 30 of The Guardian, and this is the much we can take in The Guardian newspaper.
And the next that we're going to be looking at is the Tribune, and the major story there says by-elections, ADC, APC, PDP, chieftains test a trend as poll holds in 12 states. Now the rider says IGP orders watertight security. Now you can find details on page 3. Kwara bandits attackers came from Zamfara. This is coming from Yeti Allah President. You can find details on page 8. And you know, fire got AFLA's music house. You can find details on page 7. And then woman tells Ibadan court, I work hard abroad in order to pay house rent even though my husband is alive. You can find details on page 12 and 21. And then seized local government allocations. Oshun Oba broke, can't pay salaries. Now this is I don't know what to say about this at this point. How can Oba be broke and cannot pay salaries? So it's for something that for people need to hear and read this. You can find details on page 4, and that's the much that there is. But then the by-election, do you think, because we know what happens during election period?
Exactly. That's why I said, you remember when I said we just hope it's going to be a peaceful one, because elections in Nigeria are just like war, a war zone actually, and it's just so not a nice thing to see in most cases.
And then also the Miati Allah coming to say that the bandits attackers came from Zamfara.
Oh wow. Oh well.
Well, this is the much that we can take on the Tribune. You can grab a copy for yourself this morning.
Okay, now to the Punch and newspaper. Flight fury, inside story of Kwam Emerson's pardon. How past that be compelled Fuji musician apology. You can find this story actually in page 4. This Emerson and Kwamwan's story has been going on since last week, and a lot of people, what caused the public outrage was like a lot of people said Kwamwan because he was a celebrity, and that's why his case wasn't like very serious.
Which we'll definitely talk about much later.
Of course, yes. You can find this.
But there are a lot of controversies around. I mean, I saw a post by today, not just this morning, and I was just laughing about everything, which we'll definitely talk about.
Of course, yeah. Well, you can find this on page 4. Tokema Kinwa's baby bump trigger questions about lover's identity. We will still talk about this later in the entertainment news, but you can find this on page 17. Homosexuality scandal rocks Nigerian Catholic Church. How Reverend Father sexually abused me, says former altar boy. Well, this is really shocking, because we all know that homosexuality do not have a place in any religion. Well, you can find this on page 22 and 23 of the Punch, Saturday Punch. Help, my sister vanished after meeting hotel guest, says brother. This has been happening a lot of times. Insecurity is on the rise, and you have to be like very sure of who you're going to meet all the time, and make sure they're always saying this, make sure you tell somebody in your family when you're going to meet somebody, especially somebody you do not know much about. Well, you can find this in the Punch inside story. Sango's festival where ancient rites ignite fire thunder. You can find this on page 20 and 21 if you want to know more about this Shango's festival. Go and sin no more. CAC tells Pastor Foto Imbu after Lafi. Well, this is on page 9 of the Punch, and this is the much you can take in Saturday Punch today.
And then let's quickly take a look at Vanguard this morning, and then the major story there says, Benue Plateau leaders to Tinubu, your marching orders not effective. And then the writer says, as killings, herdsmen attacks continue after president's enough is enough order. And then the other writer says, Niger Delta stakeholders advise Tinubu to adopt unconventional approach to overpower terrorists. You can find details on page 10 of the Saturday Vanguard. And then on health, 30-minute exercises reduce cancer cell growth. You can find details on page 28. And then why Nigerian aviation will keep struggling. This is coming from Oyema. You can find details on page 15. And then LP crisis, your tenure has expired, INEC tells Abure. You can find details on page 6. I mean, the back and forth with this, the who is who is what, who is the chairman of what party. Well, now they said his tenure has expired, so I think we can see what unfolds afterwards. Well, you can find details on page 6, like I said, and then there are some writers there that says Obi's faction bounces back. Abure mom Nenadi Hell's move extends Olive a branch. And then Oti, former treasurer, Osuntokum, others held electoral umpire. You can find all those details on page 6. Abducted Edo minor seminarians spends 35 days in captivity. You can find details on page 5. And then the silent divorce, why sexless marriages are the elephants in our bedrooms. Well, you can find details on page 14. Enugu bows as Christian, Chukwu goes home today. And a sad one, you can find details on page 16. And then Diri rebuffs machination to surrender Bielsa. You can find details on page 12. And that's the march that there is on, the Saturday Vanguard this morning. And well, this is the march that we have. A lot of stories for you to take a look at, to keep yourself busy this morning. And then we'll just go on a quick break. And when we return, we'll open the phone lines to hear from you, your take on, the nationwide warning strike that NLC has put out there, and given the 7-day ultimatum. Is this the answer? Constant, protests. Can it change anything? So stick with us as we come back from this break and we hear from you.